Discover the heartwarming truth. A soldier finds his daughter asleep in an abandoned garage. Incredible. Jake's hands tightened around the steering wheel as he navigated the empty streets of his struggling Midwestern town. The day had been rough at the garage, with more broken hopes than broken vehicles. He felt like he was stuck in a never-ending cycle of worry, bills piled high, the weight of his service to the country tugging at him, and, most painfully, the burden of not being enough for his little girl, Sarah. He thought of her bright smile, her laughter ringing in the air like a sweet melody. Then, just as quickly, the burdens of reality crashed down. The absent mother, the whispers of neighbors who didn't understand their struggle. Desperate to escape the tightness in his chest, Jake took a detour, driving past familiar sights until he found himself outside an old, abandoned garage. Memories flooded back, childhood adventures where he and his buddies used to play. He left those carefree days behind, but with them, the sense of joy and innocence lingered. But as he stepped out of the truck, stepping into the shadows of the junkyard memories, nothing could prepare him for what lay ahead. It was there, amongst the remnants of forgotten furniture and crumbling walls, that he found her, Sarah, curled up on a tattered sofa, her tiny body enveloped in the fuzzy warmth of a bedraggled teddy bear. The sight twisted his heart like a vice. The guilt surged through him, his little girl, resting in a place so deeply neglected, while he had fought overseas. He knelt beside her, feeling the harsh chill of the night air seep into his skin, but none of it mattered. He scooped her up, cradling her against his chest, inhaling the sweet scent of her hair. In that fragile moment, a rush of unfiltered affection washed over him. "I'm here," he whispered, torn between feeling like a hero and the overwhelming weight of failure. As he carried her home, the world outside his mind faded, the struggles of being a single dad, the whispers and judgment that never seemed to quiet. Neighbors had shown some kindness, offering help now and then with sincere smiles. In a town starving for connection, though, a flicker of hope started to glow in the hearts of those around him. But just as light began to break through the cracks of darkness, the past clawed its way back into their lives. Jake's estranged wife returned, and her presence sent a wave of uncertainty crashing into the fragile dynamic he had built with Sarah. She questioned his ability to provide the stability their daughter needed, and Jake felt old wounds opening like fresh cuts. How was he supposed to forge a happy life for Sarah amidst all this chaos? Determination bubbled within him, fueled by love. "I will not let anyone judge our family," he murmured, fierce and focused. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Jake faced not only his own fears but also the community's judgment. He knew that love could bridge gaps, but the impending question loomed over him like a storm cloud. Would their bond withstand the tide of societal expectations, or would the shadows of their past tear them apart for good? Jake stood at a crossroads, heart racing, uncertain about the next turn. Whatever came next, he had to fight for Sarah, for their future, and for the life they both deserved. Jake stood at the front door, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel the weight of uncertainty heavy on his shoulders as he peered into the dim light of his living room. The quiet seemed almost deafening. Sarah was safe in her room, tucked in and blissfully unaware of the whirlwind that had just entered their lives. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The familiar creaks of the wooden floor beneath his feet were comforting, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. He wondered how to explain to her about her mother's return, about the complexities of love and responsibility. It was a conversation he was dreading. That night, Jake settled onto the couch, a blanket draped over him like a protective shield. Sarah lay asleep down the hall, and he couldn't help but think about that moment in the garage. The image of her small frame curled up innocently still brought tears to his eyes. He had failed to protect her from the world's harsh realities, And yet there she was, trusting him completely. The television flickered to life with the news, a typical broadcast filled with reminders of the troubles and struggles in their town. As the anchor spoke about rising crime and the loss of jobs, Jake felt a pang of anger. This was what they were up against. This was the world he needed to shield Sarah from. But could he? Suddenly, the sound of a key turning in the lock jolted him from his thoughts. With a quick glance toward the door, the reality hit him. Sarah's mother was back. Jake's stomach twisted as he thought about how this might play out. Would she want to take Sarah away again? Did she even care? The door swung open, and there she stood. Emily, a figure from his past he hadn't truly wanted to face again. The years had left their mark on her too. Shadows lined her eyes, but they sparkled with a familiar warmth. Jake felt a mix of anger and relief wash over him. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice steadier than he felt. "I came to talk. I know I messed up, but I want to make things right," she said, stepping inside. "Right?" he scoffed. "You let us both down, Emily. We've built a life here while you've been gone." Her face fell, but he could see regret shining through. "I know. I regret leaving. But I'm here now. I want to be part of Sarah's life again." Jake struggled to find the words. How could he allow this woman, who had abandoned them both, back into their lives? Yet, there was that flicker of hope inside him, the desire for Sarah to have a mother, the chance for their family to be whole. "I just don't know if I can trust you," he finally admitted, the truth weighing heavily on his heart. Emily stepped closer. "I understand. But can we please just talk? For Sarah's sake?" He glanced toward the hallway where Sarah lay sleeping, wrapped up in innocence. The responsibility of making what felt like the right decision hit him again. Could this be a new beginning? A chance to heal the broken pieces of their family? As Jake hesitated, staring into Emily's pleading eyes, he knew that the coming days would be crucial. The question hung in the air like an uninvited guest. Could they truly rebuild their family from the rubble of their past? Jake took a deep breath, preparing for a conversation that could change everything. But just as he was about to speak, a loud crash echoed from Sarah's room. His heart raced. What had just happened? Jake's heart plummeted into his stomach. He darted past Emily, his breath catching in his throat as he flew down the hall towards Sarah's room. What could have caused that noise? Anxiety clawed at him, each step amplifying the dread pooling in his chest. He flung open the door. The scene before him was surreal. Sarah's nightstand lamp lay shattered on the floor, glass glittering like stars scattered across the carpet. But there was no sign of distress. In fact, Sarah was still fast asleep, her curls dancing gently as she breathed peacefully. Jake knelt beside her bed, relief flooding through him, but something was off. The only other thing in disarray was the closet door standing ajar, and it suddenly clicked in his mind. Sarah must have been playing too rough, perhaps rustling her toys, leading to the tumble of the lamp. "Jake?" Emily stepped softly into the room after him, her expression a mix of worry and wonder. He held up a hand to silence her, focused on the child before him. With careful hands, he gathered the shards of glass, placing them on the small dresser. As he did, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Sarah's wide, innocent eyes blinked open, shining like little suns. "Daddy?" she whispered, rubbing her eyes, still lost in sleep. "Hey, sweetheart," he replied softly, forcing a smile even as he felt the weight of the world pressing down. "Just a little accident, but you're safe. That's all that matters." "What happened?" she asked, her voice still thick with sleep. "I'll tell you all about it in a minute, okay?" He brushed her hair back from her face, soaking in the sight of her. Despite the chaos, this was his anchor, the love that kept him grounded. Emily stood by the doorway, hesitant and unsure. Jake could feel her lingering behind him, watching the scene unfold. He could sense her hope as she observed Sarah, her daughter. "Hey, sweetheart, how about a story before bed?" Jake suggested, hoping to ease the lingering tensions. "Yeah." Sarah cheered, brushing off the tension with her usual enthusiasm. She sat up, her small figure wrapped in a plush, fuzzy blanket. "Once upon a time, In a faraway land Jake began, and with each word, he watched as Emily's gaze softened. As he spun tales of magic and heroes, he knew that Emily's presence had shifted the atmosphere slightly. There was a chance, however faint, that they could navigate this dark chapter together. But as Jake continued, he kept glancing at Emily, gauging her reactions. She was listening intently, poring over every word like it was another piece of a puzzle she wanted to solve. Could she truly want this? A part of him wanted to scream at her for all the pain she had caused, while another part longed to forgive, to allow Sarah the relationship every child deserved. Just then, just as they reached the end of a magical adventure, Sarah's eyelids began to droop again. Soft breaths followed, and soon she was drifting back into sleep. Jake tucked her in, heart swelling with love, but when he turned back to Emily, he found tears welling up in her eyes. "I missed this," she whispered. The words hung in the air like a fragile truce. Jake's heart raced again, but for different reasons this time. He had the chance to mend what once was broken. Could he afford to take such a risk? Could Emily truly be trusted among the shattered remnants of their past? His mind was racing as he felt the ground shift beneath them. Just as he was about to confront Emily with all of his questions, the silence was broken by a loud thud coming from the living room, followed by a low voice murmuring his name. What was happening now? Jake's breath caught in his throat as he strained to hear. Another thud echoed through the house, followed by a voice he recognized, a soft murmur that sent chills down his spine. He exchanged a quick glance with Emily, whose expression had shifted from nostalgia to terror in an instant. "What was that?" she whispered, her body tense beside him. "I don't know," he managed, his pulse racing. He took a step back toward the door, the instinct to protect Sarah overpowering every other thought. "Stay here." He hurried out of the room, the creaking floorboards amplifying his every move as he vaulted down the hall. The fragments of glass still sparkled ominously behind him, reminders of his uncertainty and fear. As he approached the living room, Jake's heart thumped loudly in his chest. He paused at the doorway, peeking around the corner. The sight that greeted him was disorienting. A pile of discarded furniture lay strewn across the room, but at its center was something or someone's shadows dancing over their still form. "Jake," the voice came again, clearer now. It belonged to his brother, Michael, who was half crouched beside the coffee table. A look of urgency etched across his features. "Mike, what are you doing here?" Jake stepped fully into the room, tension loosening slightly at the sight of family, but the unease still clung to him. "I got a call from Mom. Said something felt off. I came straight over." Michael's eyes darted around, scanning the chaos. "What's going on?" Before Jake could respond, a crash from the back porch sent both of them flinching. Jake clenched his fists, adrenaline flowing through him. "We need to check it out." Emily's in Sarah's room. "Stay close." Together, they silently moved toward the porch door, the echo of their footsteps swallowed by the soft night air. Jake reached for the doorknob but hesitated. What if it was nothing? Or worse, what if someone was trespassing? "Jake!" Emily's voice called softly from behind. She had followed them, her wide eyes betraying her calm facade. "Maybe we should just call the police." "No," he whispered fiercely, shaking his head. "I won't risk waiting. If someone's here, I have to know." With that, he flung open the door, stepping into the darkness of the porch. The moonlight provided just enough illumination for him to see the shadow at the far edge of the yard. They were not alone. "Show yourself," Jake shouted, his voice steady despite the fear gripping him. A figure emerged, backlit against the moon, tall and rugged. As it moved closer, the world fell silent, a charged tension thick in the air, broken only by the distant sounds of chirping crickets. The figure stepped into the light, and Jake's heart sank. "Liam?" He blinked in disbelief. "What are you doing here? You shouldn't be." "Listen to me," Liam interrupted, urgency in his tone. "It's important. You're not safe here. I don't have much time." Before Jake could respond, the underlying chaos of their lives surged back into focus: the missed calls, the shattered lamp, the looming shadows of doubt creeping back into his heart. "Why? What do you know?" Jacob's voice dropped, tension wrestling with curiosity. Liam hesitated, glancing over his shoulder, as if sensing something all too dangerous nearby. You have to get Sarah and Emily out of here. This goes deeper than you think. Jake's mind whirled. What could possibly be deeper than the fear he already felt? What had Liam stumbled upon that put them all in danger? As questions flooded his mind, the darkness around them felt even more foreboding, echoing with the weight of unasked questions. He braced himself, uncertainty battling the sharp edges of his instinct. What would happen now? The moment felt stretched, as if everything in the world hinged on his next decision. Jake, you need to trust me. Liam's voice sliced through the heavy air, and Jake's instincts kicked in. He gripped the edge of the porch railing, trying to keep his racing heart steady. What do you mean? What's happening? Jake's mind raced with images of Sarah and Emily, and he could feel a cold sweat forming at his temples. Someone's been watching you. I think they've taken an interest in your family. Liam stepped closer, urgency painting his features. Tonight's not just another night. Things are shifting and you're caught in the middle. Jake's eyes darted toward the house, imagining Emily pacing anxiously with Sarah, and the feeling of dread clawed at him. I need to get them out. We all need to leave right now. No. Liam's sudden outburst startled Jake. If you just run, they'll know you saw me, and they'll go after them. We have to be smart about this. What do you suggest? Jake snapped, frustration boiling over. The world felt as if it was closing in on him, shadows looming larger than life. He could hear Emily's soft voice in his head, reminding him of the importance of family, of protecting those he loved. Tell me. Liam took a deep breath, still glancing back into the shadowy yard, as if he feared the darkness held more than just secrets. Let us gather everyone together and figure out what we're up against. We need to find out what they want. A noise pierced the night, a low growl followed by the crunching of gravel. The sound sent an icy wave coursing through Jake's veins, and he instinctively stepped closer to the edge of the porch, straining to see into the darkness. Liam, we don't have time for this, Jake urged, his voice rising. They could be here right now. Jake, listen. Focus. Liam's tone shifted from urgent to commanding. You need to stay calm. We've dealt with worse before. You and I. Not like this, Jake breathed, his thoughts swirling with unfulfilled promises and the precious memories he had of sitting together around the dinner table as family. As if reading his thoughts, Liam glanced at him. You have to trust, Jake, but don't act recklessly. Lead the way. I'll watch your back. Lead Emily and Sarah out the back window, it's less exposed. I'll find you when it's safe. Jake felt the weight of Liam's words, a strange mix of anger and gratitude battling it out inside him. Together? We should stick together, no time. Liam barked, the urgency in his tone snapping Jake back into the moment. You want them safe, right? Less attention is better. Trust me. The words hung in the air, binding them in an understanding deeper than fear. Okay. Jake nodded slowly, determination etching into his features. He turned to glance back inside the house. The warm light spilling from the windows felt like a sanctuary, but reality hit him hard. He had to protect them. Let us go, he murmured to Emily, who had crept closer, her face pale but resolute. There's something going on, isn't there? She asked quietly, catching the fire in Jake's eyes. Not now, he said, seeing the tremble in her lips. Just trust me. A sudden crash echoed from the other side of the yard, jolting them from their moment. Sweat pooled at the base of Jake's spine, fear flaring up once again. I'll go around the side of the house and check for threats, Liam said, his voice steady. Just move. With a final glance back at the streetlight glinting off the glass of the shattered lamp, Jake took Emily's hand, leading her toward the back of the house. As they crept quietly through the hall, shadows danced along the walls, foreboding and alive. The air was thick with vulnerability, each creak in the floor leaving a rawness in his chest. He had to get to Sarah. Reaching the girl's room, Jake's heart sank at the sight of Sarah snug in her bed, innocence shining in her sleep. As he leaned over to kiss her forehead, he felt a gust of wind, cold and unsettling, rushing past him like a warning. Jake? Emily said softly, her voice trembling slightly. What if we'll figure it out? He assured her, desperation coding his words. We'll get out together. But as they prepared to leave, a low voice drifted from behind them, icy and menacing. Leaving so soon? Jake whirled around, heart racing, as dread washed over him like a cold tide. Would they ever be able to escape the shadows closing in? What awaited them on the other side of the door? Jake's breath caught in his throat as he turned to face the voice. The figure melted out of the shadows. A tall man cloaked in darkness with a sinister smile plastered across his face. Each step he took toward them seemed to amplify the pounding of Jake's heart. What do you want? Jake forced the words past the knot in his throat. He could feel Emily press closer to him, her small hand trembling in his. The man chuckled, a chilling sound that echoed through the silence of the night. Oh, it's not what I want, dear Jake. It's what I need, he said, the gleam in his eyes unsettling. You've been involved in events far beyond your understanding. But that doesn't concern you yet. Jake stepped protectively in front of Emily, instinctively raising his arms to shield her. Stay away from her. You don't need to do this. Ah, but it's already in motion, sentí it? The man leaned forward, shadows cloaking his form but failing to hide his intent. Your family there at the heart of all this. Jake's mind raced. He thought of Sarah and her innocent trust, the way Emily regarded him as if he were invincible. What do you mean? What do you know? He asked, his voice low and fierce. Everything, the man replied, his tone dripping with amusement. But that's not the real issue. You see, people in your position often think they can escape their fate. But let me assure you, Jake, no one escapes fate. A surge of adrenaline pushed Jake into motion. He grabbed Emily's wrist, ready to bolt towards the window. We need to get out. Now. But before he could take a step, the shadowy figure raised his hand, and Jake felt a forced push against him, a cold weight that pinned him momentarily in place. I wouldn't do that if I were you. The consequences of a hasty move could be dire for your little girl. Emily's eyes were wide with terror, the fear gnawing at Jake's resolve. Jake, she whispered. I'm right here, Em. I won't let anything happen. Jake vowed, looking deep into her eyes, searching for courage amidst the chaos. The man's grin widened, pleasure radiating from him at the scene unfolding before him. It doesn't have to be this way, you know. I can help you keep your family safe, just follow my lead. No, we won't be part of whatever twisted game this is. Jake shouted, desperation igniting something in him. He pushed against the unseen force, heart racing, determined to protect his daughters. Just then, a loud crash reverberated from outside the house, a commotion that marked the arrival of chaos. The man's composure shook for a moment, his dark gaze flickering toward the noise. This was the moment Jake needed. Emily, get ready, he shouted. He felt the force slacken just for a second. Without thinking, he pulled Emily from behind him and shoved her toward the window. Now, climb out. As Emily scrambled to the opening, a surge of adrenaline rushed through Jake, pushing past fear as he readied himself to cover his daughter's escape. Jake, do it. Emily's voice rang out, panic lacing her words as she reached toward the yard's dark embrace. The man moved to block them, his features twisted with rage. You think you can run? This is only the beginning. Jake shoved Emily out of the window and leaped after her, adrenaline coursing through him. But as he hit the cool grass outside, he turned to find the man sprinting after them, his threat hanging in the air like a storm cloud. Go. Run, Emily, Jake shouted, as they dashed toward the tree-line, terror propelling them forward. Just as safety felt within reach, Jake glanced back over his shoulder. But the echoes of the man's laughter threw a shadow across the adrenaline. Would they ever make it out? What awaited them in the darkness of the night? Jake, wait. What do we do now? Emily gasped, her breath heavy with fear. They had escaped the house, but a greater danger lurked in the night. What secrets were hidden just beyond the horizon? Jake's heart raced as they sprinted through the thick underbrush, branches clawing at them like desperate hands trying to pull them back. The moon cast scattered beams through the trees, illuminating the path ahead, a slither of safety in an otherwise darkened world. He could hear Emily's panicked breaths beside him, and each gasp of air sent a stab of guilt through him. "Keep running, Em. As fast as you can," he urged, not daring to look back. The man's laughter echoed in his mind, a haunting reminder that they weren't truly free yet. "Where are we going?" Emily's voice trembled in the night. She was scared, and that scared him more than anything. "Just away from him," Jake replied, gritting his teeth. He barely knew the woods surrounding their house. They had only played out here in the daylight. But those memories felt distant, overshadowed by the terror that crept through the air. Leaves crunched beneath their feet, lightning bug flickers providing some rhythm to their flight. He could feel adrenaline coursing through him, driving him to push past exhaustion, past fear. But as they dove deeper into the embrace of nature, a thought surfaced: what if the man followed them? What if he caught up? Just then, a rustle nearby made them freeze. Jake's body tensed, instincts flaring. He held up a hand to hush Emily, who was wide-eyed and trembling beside him. They stood in a small clearing, shadows looming all around. "Jake, what was that?" she whispered, her small frame shivering not just from the cool night air. "Sho, I don't know," he urged, dread pooling in his stomach. He peered through the trees, straining his ears for any sign of movement. Silence enveloped them, but only for a moment. The snap of a twig sent a jolt through him, and he instinctively crouched down, pulling Emily close. "We need to hide," he murmured, glancing around for any place to conceal them. The dark shape of a fallen tree lay ahead, partially covered in moss. "There," he pointed, and they darted toward it. They huddled behind the trunk, Jake's mind racing through every scenario. What would they do if the man found them? Minutes felt like hours as they waited, breaths synchronized in rhythm. Every sound seemed amplified. A soft breeze whispered through the branches, and Jake fought with the urge to go back, to check on the man behind them. But they needed to stay quiet. "What if he finds us?" Emily's voice cracked, vulnerability breaking through Jake's fierce facade. "He promised, though doubt leaked into the corners of his heart. He had to believe that. "We'll be okay. I'll protect you, I swear. He knows our names, Jake." She turned to him, fear evident in her wide brown eyes. What if he finds Mom and Sarah? The mention of his wife struck him like a punch. How could he reassure her when he was spinning in uncertainty? "We'll go back for them," he said, forcing his tone to remain steady. "We'll get everyone safe." But as he tightened his grip on Emily's shoulder, a shadow flickered across their hiding place. A figure emerged from the darkness, and a chill crept down his spine. "Looking for someone?" The man's voice dripped with mirth, slicing through the safety of their hiding spot like a knife. Jake's heart sank as he realized they had played right into his hands. "Run, Emily," he shouted, the moment stretching as the threat materialized before them. Emily didn't hesitate. She bolted, but Jake instinctively threw himself between her and the man, fury igniting again. "Get away from us." Just then, the realization hit him they might not be alone. A flicker of movement came from the trees, and a small band of lights illuminated the night. Was it hope, or another nightmare waiting to unfold? "Emily," Jake called over his shoulder, fear mixing with a flicker of potential rescue. Would they finally find safety, or had they just walked deeper into the trap? A flash of light drew Jake's gaze, a beacon cutting through the dark like a knife. The moment hung suspended, as though time itself held its breath, waiting to see if they'd be saved or ensnared. He took a tentative step toward the glowing source, adrenaline still coursing through his veins, heart pounding loud enough that he was sure the man could hear it. "Emily, come on," he urged, moving cautiously toward the light. He glanced back at her just in time to see her frozen in place, eyes wide with uncertainty. "It might be help," he added, trying to suppress the pang of doubt clawing at his insides. With a reluctant nod, she caught up, her small hand gripping his tightly. They approached the flickering lights, hearts racing as shadows danced among the trees. "Who's there?" Jake called, his voice strained yet firm. "We need help." For a moment silence reigned. Then, a figure stepped into the light, revealing a scruffy man with a tired face, eyes filled with concern rather than malice. "Hey kids, you all right?" he asked, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to leap out of the darkness at any time. Jake took a breath, trying to steady his rising panic. "We're being chased. A man, he's dangerous." The stranger nodded, brow furrowed. "Get behind me. We've got a safe place just a bit farther through the woods." As they moved, the man kept glancing back, scanning the darkness. Jake's throat tightened with anxiety. What if he finds us? The man gave Jake a reassuring glance. "Not if I can help it." With every step, Jake's hope flickered like the fireflies surrounding them, wild and beautiful yet fraught with uncertainty. They finally emerged into a small, well-hidden clearing where a battered truck sat under the branches, its headlights casting a weak glow that barely penetrated the night. "Get in," the man urged, rushing to the driver's door. "We'll take you somewhere safe." Emily hesitated, looking around nervously. "What if he comes here?" "There are people watching," the man assured her, knee-deep in the thrill of the moment. "I swear you'll be safe." Just as Jake and Emily climbed into the cab, a rustle erupted from the shadows behind them. Panic surged back, squeezing Jake's chest. "There," he shouted, gripping Emily's arm tightly. But instead of the man they feared, another figure stepped into view, a woman with short dark hair and fierce determination in her eyes. "Jake! Emily!" she called, rushing forward. It took a blink for recognition to crash over him. "Mom? How did you find us?" The relief that washed over him was indescribable. He flung himself out of the truck and swept Emily into a tight embrace, tears stinging his eyes. I thought I lost you," he gasped, overwhelmed. "Not a chance. I've been looking everywhere for you," she replied, tearing up as she pulled back to inspect them. "We're all okay, thank goodness. But we need to move." In that moment, Jake realized their nightmare wasn't over. The man was still out there. "We need to hurry," he said, his voice steady despite the storm brewing inside. But as he turned to lead them back to the truck, a chilling laughter echoed through the clearing, sending a jolt of fear through him. It was unmistakable, a sinister reminder that they were not finished yet. "Did you think you could really escape?" The familiar voice taunted through the trees, sending Jake's heart into a tailspin. Standing firm, Jake felt the depth of the threat before him. They had found each other, but the battle was far from over. As the trees swayed ominously above, the figure stepped forward, blades glinting in the moonlight. Would they finally push through the darkness, or would it consume them whole? Jake's heart raced as he locked eyes with the figure emerging from the shadows. The moon illuminated the outline of a tall man, his face twisted into a cruel smirk, knives glinting menacingly. Adrenaline surged through Jake. Fear shot to his core. The air felt thick with tension, each breath heavy and urgent. "Mom! Emily! Get back!" he shouted, instinctively stepping in front of them, a futile attempt to shield them from the encroaching danger. His body trembled, but he couldn't let the fear show. "What do you want?" The man laughed again, a guttural sound that sent shivers racing down Jake's spine. "What do I want? Oh, it's simple, kid. Just a little game of cat and mouse." He took a slow step closer, blades catching the low light. "And I have no intention of letting you or your precious family escape." Emily's grip tightened around Jake's arm, her small body shaking like a leaf caught in a storm. He turned to her, forcing a calmness into his expression he didn't feel. "Stay behind me, Em. Do you remember what we practiced? We need to move now." Mom knelt next to her, brushing Emily's hair off her forehead. "Let us keep together, okay? No one's going to hurt us." Her voice was steady, a comforting anchor in the chaos. Jake felt a flicker of gratitude toward his mother, but kept his eyes focused on their foe. The man stumbled slightly, and in that instant, Jake registered the dark bruises on his face, the ragged edge of desperation etched into his features. "Why is this so important to you?" Jake demanded, desperation worming into his voice. "We just want to go home." The grin faded from the man's face, replaced by something darker. "Home?" he echoed, almost scoffing. You don't even know what that means anymore. Jake's heart sank, a knot of rage tightening in his chest. You're wrong. We may be lost in this moment, but we know what family is. The man took another step closer, and with a burst of instinct, Jake lunged forward, sensing this was their chance. He needed to buy them time or even better, an escape. He swung his fist, knocking the blade from the man's grip. Run! Jake yelled, his voice hoarse. Get to the truck. In chaotic motion, Emily and their mom darted toward the vehicle, fear propelling them forward. Jake glanced back to see the man scrambling to regain his footing, fury radiating from him. Don't play hero, the man shouted, rage slicing through the night. But Jake couldn't stop. Not now. His family was a heartbeat away from safety, and he couldn't let fear drown out his hope. He sprinted after them, legs pumping, breath coming in desperate gasps. Suddenly, a grip closed around his arm, yanking him back. The world spun as he was thrown to the ground, the cold earth biting into his skin. The man loomed over him, eyes wild, breath heavy. You'll pay for this, all of you will. Just then, a sharp honking broke through the tension, and Jake's mom, adrenaline surging, shouted, Get in the truck. Jake, with a final burst of energy, he kicked upward, dislodging the man just long enough to scramble to his feet. He raced toward the truck, heart pounding, just as he heard the alarming sound of footsteps galloping behind him. He leaped into the passenger seat, slamming the door behind him. Emily slid across to him as their mother revved the engine. Go, go, go! Jake shouted, panic lacing his words. She floored the gas, tires screeching as they shot out of the clearing, leaving the darkness behind. Exhausted, Jake slumped back against the seat, his pulse still racing, fear and adrenaline battling for dominance. Did we lose him? Emily's voice quivered, breaking the silence that followed their escape. Jake turned to see his mother's eyes darting around erratically. I hope so, but we can't stop now. We have to keep moving. In the back of his mind, dread settled like a heavy weight. The menacing laughter echoed there as a cruel reminder that their ordeal wasn't finished. What had they awakened, lurking just beyond the shadows? Mom, Jake said, leaning closer, do you think he'll come after us again? She glanced briefly at him before returning her focus to the dark road ahead, determination etched on her face. We'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe, I promise. We'll figure this out together. As they drove deeper into the night, Jake felt a chill creep down his spine. The pursuit wasn't over. In that moment of hope, a nagging question gnawed at him. Did their fleeting escape merely uncover a greater danger lurking in the shadows? Jared's head spun, memories flooding back of all the times he had fought to protect his family. Yet here they were, driving into the unknown, uncertainty clawing at them from every direction. He glanced at Emily, her eyes wide and filled with fear, and then to his mother, whose knuckles were white around the steering wheel. Stay close, he murmured, feeling the weight of those words as if they were a promise, a shield meant to cover them against the darkness that sought to surround them as the truck roared across the rugged terrain. Jake fought to think of a plan. They needed to reach the outskirts of town where they could hide, regroup, and consider their next move. A safe haven. But what did safety even mean anymore? Suddenly, a siren wailed in the distance, shattering the oppressive silence that had absorbed them. Jake's heart raced again. Were the dangers they feared finally catching up? Quick, just keep driving, he shouted, a sense of urgency igniting in him. Don't stop for anything. Emily peered out the window. Panic seeped into her voice. What if it's him? Shoo, Jake whispered. He leaned closer to the window, trying to catch a glimpse of the flashing lights. With every passing second, it felt as if the ground slipped from beneath him. The laughter still echoed in his mind, cruel and mocking. No one's gonna hurt us, he assured her, hoping it sounded convincing enough to quell her fears. After what felt like an eternity, they veered onto a narrow road, surrounded by trees that stood tall like guardians against the oncoming storm. Jake felt a slight easing of pressure in his chest. This was their chance, a moment to breathe, to strategize. They drove deeper, except Jake's thoughts were racing. They needed to find a way to sever the thread that connected them to the man who haunted their nights. His mother turned down a small gravel path leading to a clearing that opened like an embrace, showing an old family cabin, slightly derelict but seemingly standing as a refuge. "Here," she said, her voice filled with resolve. "We can rest here for a bit." They stepped outside, and the cool air was refreshing against their skin, a stark contrast to the tension that had gripped them just moments before. Jake felt a sense of urgency. "We need to barricade the door," he directed, and for the first time in what felt like days, a flicker of purposeful energy surged within him. Emily began gathering broken branches while his mother pushed furniture against the door, each shove echoing a determination to protect what mattered most. "Tell me what to do," Emily exclaimed, eyes shining bright, the fear morphing into a fierce resolve. They were family. They could face anything, together as the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting an amber glow through the dusty windows. Jake finally stopped to breathe, his heart starting to slow from a panic-fueled rhythm to a heavy, grounded beat. He caught the warmth in Emily's eyes, and a realization washed over him. They had survived horrors, but they had also found resilience. Together, they could rebuild their lives. "I know things seem dark," he started, "but no matter what happened before, we're stronger now." That man. He took a breath, steadying himself against the raw memories. "He doesn't own us. We'll stand together." The earlier fear was slowly replaced with something electric hope, rising through the air like steam off a hot cup of coffee. The message settled over them softly, warming their hearts. Just then, an anxious rustling outside cut through their thoughts, sending chills down Jake's spine. "Get back," he shouted, instinctively shifting into a protective stance. They pressed against the walls, hearts pounding as they awaited the next chapter. But it wasn't the shadow he feared. It was a family friend who had seen their headlights. "Jake! Emily!" A familiar voice called from outside, worry etched into every line of its face. Jake's pulse quickened. "It's us, Mari. Open up," he shouted, arms still raised cautiously. With a heave, the door swung open, and Mari's face appeared, relief washing over her features. "I've been looking for you." She burst into the cabin, enveloping Jake in a fierce hug that melted the lingering fear still residing in his body. The moment, suddenly filled with warmth, eased the tension that had gripped them for so long. "Is it safe here?" Mari asked, her attention quickly shifting to Emily's pale face. Jake nodded, the pieces falling into place. "For now it is," he assured, forcing a smile. "We're gonna figure this out." As the night deepened, they huddled together, exchanging stories of strength, resilience, and hope. Moments filled with laughter softened the edges of their last ordeal and, for the first time, reaffirmed their bond. Outside, the trees rustled quietly in the breeze, as if whispering secrets to hold on to. Inside the cabin, warmth and love spiraled around them, and Jake felt the weight on his heart lift just a little more. They had faced chaos and darkness, but they had also found each other. Hope, after all, could shine through the deepest night. Jake looked at Emily and his mother, their faces illuminated through the dim light. "You see, we are home," he whispered, realizing home was no longer a place, but the family they had forged against the odds. The night continued to deepen, but with a sense of purpose igniting within, Jake vowed they would never let the shadows reclaim what was rightfully theirs. This was just the beginning. As their laughter rang in the air, a flicker of determination sparked. They were free to start anew, and nothing, not even fear, would hold them back. And as they faced the dawn, Jake knew it was time to embrace the new chapter before them, one bound by love and forged in fire. Now, we need your support more than ever. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Hit like now to feed the algorithm and boost our reach. Your reaction matters, so comment below your feelings about this incredible transformation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey. Together, we can grow this amazing community of love and resilience.